Could Wilf be headed to Lazio? Maybe, maybe not. Lyon. Could we finally be doing some good business with Lyon for the first time since the takeover from Texter? Also, in other news, looks like Joe Whitworth might be headed out somewhere on loan in Europe. Could it be for someone competing in the European game? Europa, Champions League? Could it be? And lastly, one of our winger targets reportedly turns us down as not being interested in Palace at all. We got all those things coming up on another edition of Palace News. Y'all stay tuned. What's good? What's good? What's going on, everybody? It's your man T. Welcome to another edition of Palace News. Hey, I'm gonna be doing this one solo today. So, with that being said, I want to need the help of everybody in the chat to help me out. Chat it up, ask questions, make it good. I mean, I'm here by myself. Of course, I'm always gonna share my thoughts and my opinions, but it's always better when I get to interact with you all. Before we get started, though, I always want to say thank you to everyone out there who's tuning in. By far, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. It means a great deal to the channel. Um, man, let's just get straight into it, man. So, rumor has it that Lazio is now into the fold as far as their interest in Wilfried Zaha. It's being reported that they have now approached Crystal Palace and the Crystal Palace forward on a potential free deal. Negotiations have took place, but it's not an easy deal at this stage, apparently. A big part of that is because Zaha has many requirements for his services, and of course, Lazio may not be able to meet all of those. It's looking like could be a possibility, could not be. That was actually reported by Fabrizio Romano on Twitter earlier today. Man, what can I say? I feel like this is a new thing and a new team every single day, almost once every week now for Wilf, and as far as interest in things. But one thing that I can say that is, as of today, we are T-minus 7 days until Wilf is a free agent. So interesting to see what's going to happen with that. It doesn't seem like he's going to sign. I don't know. We'll see. Is he waiting to the very last minute? I don't know. But the Lazio link is just the newest one in a long line of interest, whether it be from Saudi Arabia, other Premier League teams, Ligue 1, Serie A. There's been a lot of interest in Wilf. So I don't know. I feel like it's just another link in at this point. Who knows? Unfortunately. Looking at the chat, man. Shout out to Eagle Eye Football. What's up, everybody, man? What's up, guys? Always love y'all, man. Love checking y'all out. Quinn says, oi, oi. Mitch says, finally got a new TV yesterday, so now I can enjoy it in full OLD glory. Well, good, man. You deserve to see this mug in full HD. I hope you got that nice color setting too, because I got that nice brown going on. But never mind, man. You don't even worry about that. But love Wilf, but this circus is exactly what we didn't need. And that's a great point, man. Now, unfortunately, I think for the past, however many years, 3-4 years, it's been somewhat of a circus every single summer when it comes to Wilf and Willie move, won't he move? I guess for me this year, it's a little bit less of, I guess I care a little bit less just because it seems so much less in it for the club in this situation. I mean, maybe he comes back, but I don't know. It seems like he's pretty set on leaving. Good to see you, T. Quick note of gratitude to you, D, AJ, Patrick, Stan, everyone here. Fantastic community. Shout out, Tim. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it, man. For everything you've done with us, helped us out with, man. You've been really critical with some of our financial shows and things, keeping us up to date on stuff. So really appreciate you too, man. Thank you so much. So which young Arsenal striker are Palace linked with? Shit, all of them. Apparently, Patrick, we're linked with all of them. I don't know. Wolf is also out on his stag, so we won't know anything till next week, which could get this behind us. Yeah, I mean, and like we said, by this time next week he'll be completely a free agent. So I did want to something completely different. So his stag, is that a bachelor party? Is that what that is? Just loop me in on this. I mean, I know this. It sounds like that is some UK lingo that I'm hearing for the first time, but putting the pieces together, I think a stag is the same thing as what we call a bachelor party. I think that's what that is. So apparently, Wolf is getting married, which is great for him, man. Really happy for him on that one. So one of the grossest fan base in Serie A, Lazio. I've heard that. I actually saw somebody on Twitter call them Nazio. That's kind of rough. We know I'm going into that, but that's kind of rough. Yeah. Let's keep our players. We need to push on. I'm really dissatisfied with our let's stay in the Prem rubbish FA Cup league. Come on, let's have it. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to have more ambition, like some of the clubs that are around us. I really want that for us for sure. But the Wolf thing, man, you know, it's so up in the air, and hopefully we'll see Wolf return to us. But if he doesn't, all the best. I mean, me personally, I would love to not see him in the Premier League. Makes it a little bit harder to digest. But always want the best for him though. But moving on to our second piece of news, it looks like there's a report out now that Romain Faivre from I think it's how you spell it, Romain Faivre. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's a midfielder from Lyon, and looks like he's being connected with Crystal Palace on a possible loan transfer move. He actually was on loan this past year at Lyon, but apparently Lyon are looking to move him, and he's carrying a price tag of about 15 million. Now, Favre himself is only 24 years old, and he's piquing the interest of Everton, Crystal Palace, and Fulham, and that's from Get French Football News. So, could this finally be some business being done between Palace and Lyon? I think a lot of us have been waiting for it. A lot of us have been looking forward to the potential of it. Favre's a really interesting player. He seems like he's young, talented. He did go on loan for them, so not sure what may come with that. But I think that could be a good move for us. I mean, we have solidified our midfield already with the pickup of Jefferson Lerma, but I'd be interested to see what are the things we can do, especially with some cost efficient moves. Now, is central midfield the biggest position of need for us right now at this moment? No, it's not, but a good deal is a good deal, and if you can bring in some talented players, I think you do that. So, do you think that we'll actually sell both Gay and Anderson? And if they do, would they actually reinvest into the team? Uh, yes and no. I think that we could possibly sell one of them. I don't think we'll see both of them leave in the same window. I think that would be massively irresponsible from us, to be honest with you. Although it would stack the coffers as far as the amount of money we would have in our transfer kitty, I think we'll see one leave. It seems like as of late, Joachim Anderson might be the one that ends up leaving. And I said it on the past show. I think that if that happens and Joachim Anderson is the one to go, then I think that's a fair one. I think that it makes it to where there's less pressure to sell Gahey, and he can go on with this. We can build around him and guys like Eze and build for the future. So I think right now with the position that we're in with Anderson, Anderson's value is pretty high. It's higher than when he came in with us, and I think that's crucial. He's 27, so he's very much in his prime. I don't know if his value is going to be any higher than it is right now. So I think it's kind of that idea of striking while the iron is hot and doing what you can to make that move. So Eli says if we don't have a manager by Sunday, there's a huge problem. Could be, man. It could be. I mean, and first of all, before I say, shout out to my man Pablo Rosario and Tampa Palace Twitter. He does some really good news information on his site and things, and he did some digging into when managers are hired as compared to the success that they have based on when they're brought in. And honestly, what he actually found from that information is it's not so much when the manager is brought in, it's more about who the manager is that is brought in. He looked at managers hired early, so which would be May, managers hired in June, and managers hired in July. And there was actually no correlation between hiring earlier and having more success. Honestly, from the information that he shared, managers hired in the month of June have the worst success. So it looks like if we hold out for a few more days and we hire somebody in July, we might actually have better success. But it's interesting to see because, like, okay, for instance, with Pep Guardiola didn't start with Manchester City until July, even though he was contracted to start in January. I mean, he signed his contract in January. He just didn't start to July. But it doesn't seem like it's as much of a correlation between when your manager is hired compared to who you bring in. So in this situation, for us, is sounds like we need to make sure that we're bringing in the right person. So who knows when that might be? I mean, we didn't bring in Vieira 2 years ago until I think like right on 4th of July. So we'll see, man. We will see. Yeah, his stag do is a bachelor party. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate that. Appreciate y'all humoring me with that. I do. I appreciate that, man. I'm always learning, man. Always learning. Texter need to get his account at Lyon settled. I badly want to see this link work for us, but the man has got to get his shit together. I agree, but I mean, the thing that I was reading about Tim is that it's not actually as bad as they made it seem. It's like that 60 is actually going to be closer to like 10 because apparently the sale of the women's team isn't like factored into that number or something like that. So like with selling the women's team, that number comes out lower. I mean, I think he'll take care of it. I mean, part of ownership and everything they do, you're going to have all these reports that come out. So I think, you let the dust settle and see what happens. But yeah, I'm really ready for us to start seeing these links between us and some of the other clubs and taking advantage of this. Coleman Natural, what's up, man? Anderson gives us another dimension with awesome his crossfield passing. If he gets it, will be a step backwards in my view. That's a fair view. I mean, Anderson does. I mean, he is a fantastic passer. I don't doubt that at all. But if you let him go right now, you do reap the benefits of a very high profit. We brought him in for about 17 million pounds. Right now, we have the potential to sell him for almost over 30. So we got a chance to double up the money and bring in more to the transfer. Like I said, he is 27. So being that he's in his prime, we may not see his value this high in the other point. And then you have a guy like Chris Richards, who by a lot of people's standards may not be as good as Anderson right now, but Richards is only 23 as well. So you got a really, really solid guy that can step into that role. Now, there are things that Chris Richards can do that Anderson can't do as well. Richards is better with both feet. He's actually 2-footed. He's much better in the air. You know what I mean? So I think there are positives and negatives to both. But if I had to choose between losing Anderson and losing Gahey right now, me personally, I choose Anderson because we're able to profit. We're able to get a substantial amount of money with the transfer. We do have a ready-made guy to step in, and we can build around a guy like Gahey too. So that's just me personally, though. But Tim says, yeah, I can see the sale of Anderson, even though I miss him massively. He will be a big fee. Yeah, 40 million. Any chance of getting 50? Who knows, man? In this market, so. Twisted. Yes, Roy is out of contract and/or our default setting. He's out of contact. Yeah, because he's out of contact right now. Excuse me. He's out of contact because he's on holiday. So, but apparently he's still trying to figure it out too. And the fact that we have to try and make it work with him is a whole nother story. I don't even want to go there. But we're gonna move on. So, moving on to the next piece of transfer information. So everybody knows about the success of Joe Whitworth, and how well he did for us stepping in when we had injuries with Guaita as well as Sam Johnston at the same time. But now that he's had his Premier League debut and experience, it sounded like he is in the running for a loan move, and that's something that we want for him. And the interesting thing is that there's a lot of European clubs that are interested in him, particularly from what's being reported through, I think it's the South London Press, is that teams from both Belgium as well as the Netherlands are calling about Joe. And apparently some of those teams are going to be European competitions next season. So that's some big that's some big comparisons and talk out there to be connected to one of our players. I mean, so happy to hear that. I think Joe Whitworth has been amazing for us, both when he had to step in the Premier League and what he was doing already in the U23s. So, like I said, the South London Press understands that there's a number of clubs from Europe and the Football League that have asked about a season-long loan for him. I think personally, with all of we've got all these goalkeeper rumors about goalkeepers that are might possibly be on the move and things like that. If I'm looking at Joe Whitworth, I think I might put a little bit of a pause on it until we can figure out what's going on with guys like Guaita and Johnston before we just send him out. Because if we just put him out on loan first before anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're down the two guys that we had in front of him, then we in a little bit of a goal crisis, and now we talking about possibly playing a guy like Remy Matthews. I don't know about that, man. I'm a little bit worried about that, but feel free to share your opinions on my man Joe going out. I mean, I would love to see him get the opportunity, but I think it has to be right for us overall more than anything else. But seeing Joe Whitworth in some English competitions would be pretty awesome, man. I cannot lie. I think that would be super cool for him and great for us to see some of our academy guys coming through the ranks, getting those loans and playing international football like that. Feet are more important than hands for keepers these days. It's ridiculous. It's kind of crazy, man. It's kind of crazy. It's almost like the evolution of modern fullbacks. You know what I mean? It seems like in the essence of the game has changed depending on the position. You got guys that now with fullbacks are expected to be attackers and be able to play up the pitch. And now you got goalkeepers who are expected to be able to begin the build-up, to start the play, to be able to play at their feet and be almost an 11th outfield player. So check this out, everybody. This don't happen very often, all right? But I got a very special guest that's ready to tap in unexpectedly too. That just goes to show how much y'all mean to this dude. So I'm gonna bring on my man Patrick. What's going on, big dog?
What's going on, T?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. D sent me a text, and I was out with some friends having lunch, and he asked me to jump on, so I'm here.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time, my brother.
No problem. What are we talking about? This Palace
So
news? What's Palace
yeah,
news today?
we're
There's no
Palace
news.
News, but the thing that we're currently talking about is the links for Joe Whitworth to go out on loan, man. How you feeling about
Oh,
me
okay.
being that you're a former goalkeeper coach, man? You know how you feeling about that?
I like Wilfried a lot as a youth goalie. He definitely needs to get some experience. What clubs are linked to him? Do you know links to linked to him or not?
They only mentioned that clubs in both the Netherlands and Belgium were interested. They didn't say anything in particular, but they also said that some of the clubs are going to be playing European football next year.
All right. So I think for me it really depends on who our third choice keeper is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming that we keep both Guaita and Johnstone, and Matthews goes somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
I like to see either Whitworth or Goodman be the backup or the
The
third
backup.
choice keeper. So I
Mm-hmm.
have no problem with him going out. Don't send him out though, unless if you're going to get rid of Johnstone or Guaita, because
I
to
was
me,
literally just saying that.
yeah,
I was just
like
saying
last
that.
year, we're going to get caught short again. So I don't want that to happen. So, but I
Yeah, I
like
was just
Whitworth a lot. So it'd be good
yeah.
experience for him. So
I was
yeah,
just saying the one thing that we can't do, he can't be the first goalkeeper move that we make.
exactly.
Can't be.
I agree.
So
I
like
agree.
we have to let the dust settle on all of these connections between Guaita and Whitworth. I mean, and Johnston, and figure out what we're going to do with that before we decide to just throw him out of there and then find ourselves in a goalkeeper crisis. And we're talking
Yeah,
about who's going to start between Remy Matthews and Goodman.
exactly. Don't need
Yeah,
that. So we don't need that.
absolutely,
Exactly. Yeah.
absolutely. My man Tim says, Patrick, good to see you, pal.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate you, man. Always
Yeah,
nice
for
to be on.
sure. Oh, looks like Geica made a good point here. They'll probably put a recall clause if Whitworth goes out on loan. I think that might be a smart thing to do, especially depending on what our situation is when he goes out. So
It would be, but those on, people talk about recall loans. They're not that popular anymore. Honestly, they're
they
very,
usually
very
don't
rare. I
happen.
mean,
They usually won't happen until you can't recall them until the winter anyway, when the next window starts. So
exactly.
it's not
So
like
I
it's an
mean, we'll
immediate
see.
thing. You trigger it and they come
Right,
back immediately. So
right. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Raksaki had the recall because that was unusual with Coventry, but normally there isn't a recall. Usually, you get stuck there. You get
yeah.
stuck there for the entire season. But we'll see. It's a good idea though. That recall we can
Do you
as
think
an option.
Roxaki will finally get a run in the first team this season? Big up to Patrick. Patrick, what do you think? You think Roxaki gonna
Um,
get that
I,
shot?
I'm a big Raksaki fan. I say 100% keep him here and making the backup to Olise. I don't see the point in sending him out alone again. I know he was on League One,
Mm-hmm.
but I've known plenty of players to go from League One to Premier League as far as having a loan. It's not
Mm-hmm.
impossible. It's difficult. You don't have to have that second loan in Championship. You don't need it. I mean, and I think he's that talented that he's ready for. I mean, he was always one of our top prospects. It's not like he just came out of nowhere. He's
Right.
been one of our top prospects anyway. So I think he's ready to, at very least, like I said, to back up Olise. So I don't have a problem having him as in the squad this year.
So just thinking about it. So if you bring him, just thinking about how many games that Elise played, and he didn't really deal with many injuries this past year, which is
He
great
was much
compared to
better, right?
years
Yeah.
before. Do you think that it possibly hurts Jez's development to not have that many appearances as compared to either number one, changing positions and possibly trying to play elsewhere on the pitch, or number two, taking a loan move to say a championship level squad rather
No,
than
I
staying
think
with us?
I don't think we have that deep of a squad where he wouldn't play more. And I think we talk about this whole the whole new term is what's that word they use for players? Adaptability. What's that word
Mm-hmm.
that comes out now with players? So I think he has the ability as Olise to play both on the outside as an inverted winger and also in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I think depending on who the manager is, won't get into that again today, but depending on who the
Yeah,
manager is,
of
that's a
course.
big deal. I mean, he can play. He can play as a 10. Raksaki, he can play out wide. He can play. So can Elise. So depending on the tactics of the manager, the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, they both can play, and I don't see why other teams can have squads and we can't. We just play the same 11, 12 players every season. It's ridiculous. So why
Yeah,
not have a
having
squad and use the squad?
yeah,
So
that's one of those things. Like having depth is important. You know what I mean? Having being able to go too deep at every position is like
yeah,
the dream of every team that's contending for a championship year in and
exactly.
year out. So why not us? Exactly. So I'd be perfectly fine with that as well. I think if we do end up keeping somebody like Roxaki around the first team, then that probably bumps IU over to that left side, or maybe
Hey,
backing up in the center. I mean, first of all,
yep,
let me just say, IU was fantastic on the left.
he
Let me
was.
be quite honest, because
He was.
I think adding that cut inside aspect to his game, where he can cut inside and actually shoot off
Right.
of his foot, his entire foot. I think that gives him a whole nother dimension to his game. So I think he plays very well there. And being the fact that, like I said at the beginning, we're T-7 days from having Wilf become a free agent, is looking
Is it?
like
Okay.
yeah, it's looking like he might not be returning. So IU on the left backing up, or God forbid starting, but could be. But I think that gives him a spot there. So I definitely wouldn't be opposed to just hanging around the first team. I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt him. I think it's going to make him better, to be honest with you.
See, the option is to not have him there. Wolf leaves. Who are your options out wide?
Exactly, exactly. I think
Right.
at that point, like I said, you're probably thinking
Bowie, right? Ebioe.
Ebioe and IU. That's it.
Right, and Schlupp, but no, you don't want Schlupp out there anymore. You want Schlupp to be more inside. He's proven that he's very much suited to playing, in the midfield, but
Hmm.
not necessarily all the time. So I think to have, and again, there's that versatility of Schlupp. Schlupp could play wide if you needed him to. You don't need want him doing it every game. But
Hmm.
again, I think having IU on the right, if Wolf doesn't come back, and then having the options of having Raksaki and Eboe as a backup to Olise make total sense to me. But again, I'm not the manager. We don't have one now. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right. So we don't know what their opinion may be or who they want where, who they
E-
feel fits in a certain
Exactly.
spot. You know what I mean? Because who knows? I mean, they could think that Edward might be better on the left. And
I
we don't
remember the
we don't
term
know.
now. I was trying to remember before. Positional versatility. That's the word I'm
Positional
looking for.
versatility. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
the word
and
because
if I think
they
of,
he has it.
but
He can do that. So does Elisa. Yes.
when I think about Palace, we tend to love players that have positional versatility, a la IU and Schlupp.
Yep.
Guys that can play all over the field. So you
Right.
definitely got to appreciate those guys for sure. So moving on to the last topic that we had for today, it was reported originally by HLN that Belgian winger Mike Tresor was on the radar of Palace as well as a few other teams in the Premier League. Now it's being reported by the same people, HLN, that Mike Tresor is actually not interested in coming to Palace.
Hmm.
And it sounds like the 24-year-old winger was recently got his first cap for the Belgian national team, has plenty of interest, but Crystal Palace were one of these sides, but it appears that the winger would prefer a move elsewhere. What might that be? Why do you think? I mean, I think there's some obvious answers, but I just want to hear you out on it. What do you think is probably some of the reasons why you would feel a player of this caliber coming from, the Belgian Pro League would look at a team like us in the Premier League and losing our left winger possibly, and it would say, "No, I'm not interested."
I honestly don't see why any player would sign for Palace right now without a manager. I don't
Right.
understand it. I harken back to Jefferson Lerma, and I think it's a great signing for us. But I don't know what he was thinking. Like someone makes a joke about maybe Dougie sold him the dream, whatever that is. But
Yep.
truthfully, why are you signing for a team with without a manager that you know of? Because I mean, I look at my own life. I mean, I had two. I changed career, like business when I first came out of school, and I became a teacher, an administrator. So, but I would never have gone to a business or a place if I didn't know who was in charge, because I wouldn't know who I'd work for. So, I don't
Right.
understand why any player would even think about coming to Palace at this point until you know the manager, and then you know the style of play. If he likes you, doesn't like you, if you like
Hmm.
him, additions that might be coming in at your position or other positions. The
Hell, I mean, you don't even know you don't even know if the next manager is going to use wingers.
that's what I'm saying. So
I mean,
I
it's
don't
a
right.
real thing. I mean, there are some managers with their setups that don't use traditional wingers, and
B
if
talk
and
about
if
it all the time, playing three at the back, four at the back. It's a bit. So I don't understand. I don't understand how. I love the listen. I love the fact we're linked to players. I think it's very funny, but I don't see us barring Jefferson Lerma signing another player till we get a manager in, because it does not make any sense to me.
yeah, because
So
some of it, I mean, a lot of it, and when it boils down to, like you said, not having a manager in place or not having a understood style of play
right,
because of your manager,
right,
leads you to say that, well, some of this stuff is just paper talk. You know what I
hundred
mean?
percent is, hundred
I
percent is,
mean,
hundred
I
percent.
can understand why we brought in a guy like Jefferson Lerma because, once again, like we talked about, positional versatility.
Right.
He can be a central midfielder. He can play box to box. He scored 5 goals last year. So he has goal scoring acumen. But prior to that, traditionally, when he came into Bournemouth, he was a six. You know what I
Right.
mean? So he can play the defensive midfield role. He can be in a tandem with Czech Decore if we need him to be. So that gives him the ability to bed in where a manager needs him based on their system. Because there's no system that doesn't use midfielders. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that move makes sense, I would say,
But let me tell
especially
you
being on the
something.
free.
It's a great point, and you're right. Lerma is very versatile. He's actually one of the most versatile midfielders there is of going. But let's go back to, let's say, Conor Gallagher.
Hmm.
Conor Gallagher would not have fit into Roy Hodgson's system,
No,
which is
no,
why he didn't come. But
no.
look how Vieira fit him in perfectly and built the midfield around him
Yep.
after 4 or 5 games that made him into a international player Chelsea really wanted back, etc., etc. If he was to come back to pass, he wouldn't have fit in to pass under Hodgson
No.
again. So
No.
you're right. It depends on the player. But like I said, right now, barring major holes, like we need a right back. But let's say the Magic comes in plays wing backs. That would to me change what kind of right back you want to get. You want to get a Max
That
Aaron
changes
or
that
a,
changes a
you know what I mean?
lot
So
for us with
right.
what we
So
have currently.
yeah. So like I said, all the links are great and I think they're funny. But until we get a manager in, I just don't see us signing another player until we know for sure what we're going to do. So
Yeah,
maybe more
absolutely.
outgoings than ingoings, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see anybody leaving either, by the way. By the way, another thing I find funny is all these links to players leaving. Anderson, Gehi, Eze,
Mm-hmm.
Olise,
Yep.
Edouard, Mateta. We don't sell players. We don't sell players. We haven't sold. I mean, Benteke went to MLS a couple of seasons
We've
last year.
sold two
Balassi went.
players, and we sold two players for over $20
Wan-Bissaka.
million in our
That's what I'm
history.
saying. Wan-Bissaka and Balassi. I mean, we don't sell players. So people want to panic about, Gehi's going to leave or Anderson's going to leave. They maybe because of the uncertainty of the club at the moment. But that comes down to us. I heard you guys say all the time about us meeting that valuation and
Yep.
deciding we want that player leave. If not, if they have a contract, they're not going anywhere. So again, just speculation is funny to me. So evening,
I
Luke.
think
How are you, my friend?
I think part of it too, man, is a lot of our fan base. We're in uncharted territory for a lot of our fan base with having this much young, valuable talent. We've never
Yep,
really had this before, where
you're right.
you can look at 5, 6, maybe even 7 different guys on our roster that can easily fetch you 20 million, 30 million plus. So I think
Right,
with that being the situation, I think it then instills fear into our
right,
fan base. Is like, oh my God, they're so good, we can lose them. They're too good. They're going to be too good for Palace. We're going to lose them.
right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like an ugly dude that's got a real good looking girl. It's like eventually I don't deserve her. Somebody gonna come and take her from me.
Yeah, we are that. We are that. We are that. We
Hey,
are
hey
that.
guys,
Yeah.
just understand, know your worth, Palace fans. We not that ugly, man. We a decent looking guy, and we got a great personality. You know what I mean? We got a great
Personality means a
personality.
lot. Yeah, that can mean a lot. That
That's what
can,
keeps them in the end, man.
overcome a lot.
You should see my wife, man. My wife is chef's kiss, but it's because of the personality, ain't because of the mug. You know what I'm saying? Know your role,
You're funny.
accept it.
I hear
So
you, bro.
before
I
we
hear
wrap
you.
up, we just gonna look at some other things from the chat here. Only had two $20 million
Yep.
transfers in our current, but yep,
Wan-Bissaka
and
and
Wan-Bissaka
Balassi.
and Balassi,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that's compared to I think that when they released that list, I think the highest on there was 15,
Right.
and I can't remember what club it was. Man City was second; they had 9, but one club had I think Brighton right now has had 5.
That would make sense. Cucurella, etc. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, the thing that's like I said, the thing that is promising about that list is our number could go up substantially really quickly when you look
Very
at
true.
some of the guys that we got now. You know what I mean? That, like I said, that's good to know. That's good to
And I'll
know.
just say again, Parrish is not going to sell more than one of our superstars. He's not going to do it. He won't. He'll be so stubborn that and which is smart, to stay up because he knows if he sells two of our star players, we're in big trouble. We can't replace
Exactly.
him, so he'll
And
sell one.
that was one of the
Yeah,
questions that came up earlier. I think
right.
Patrick Sloat actually asked. He's like, if we were to sell both Gehi and Anderson in the same
Nah,
window,
it's
would we
one.
actually replace them? And
Nah,
the
it's
first
one
thing
or
I
the other.
said was, I don't
Yeah,
see us doing that. I don't see
yeah.
us selling both of them. You
Nah,
know
it's
what I
one or the
mean?
other for sure.
And
One or
it's
the
one
other.
of those that like I don't see us like if Wolf decides to not re-sign with us, we're not going to sell Elise. We're not going to lose both of our wingers. Like that's not
Can't
going to
afford to.
happen. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
100%. Right.
So
I
I think
agree.
that's just one of those things. So we're also in a weird transitional period where the Cat One Academy is new, still being completed, and we don't yet know how it's all going to go.
It's a good point.
And that's a
I,
great point.
I I have a question though for
Mhm.
Tim. If you want to put it in
Okay.
chat, is
Yeah.
that so? When do you think that's going to start to come to fruition? Because for me now, we've been Cat One. I think it's our third year because we got promoted out of the second division. At least the 21s did. 18s were already there, and then we've been. I think this is our third
Was
season. This will be our third season coming up, right?
they're coming up? Yeah, because we did 22
Right.
and 23. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So of those players, you can't include any of the younger players like Akinwale or the Bomi. They were all too young, but like the 21 players like the Banks, uh, O'Brien, Killian Phillips. At what point did they start being part of this group now? Because clearly they're not all going to make it because, like, for instance, Street's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them, but the Whitworth is actually playing up. He's a
Omalabu's
U18.
gone.
Omalabu left. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, we have to start getting the benefits of those players. I would say next year at the latest, because that
Mm-hmm.
academy has to start paying off for us. If we're not going to always get an Elise and Eze, these little gems that we're getting from the championship and then selling them on, we have to start producing our own players. So
Yeah.
I agree with you, Tim. That academy thing, Cat One is a big thing, but at some point, the manager, whoever that is, has to start using those players in order for us to kind of get the benefit of that
And I
kind of
think,
growth.
I think and you make a great point, Patrick. I think the success of what we're doing with the academy is also it's twofold. It's what you're saying right now about them developing and becoming part of our first team,
Right.
or I think it's us seeing value from their sales.
100%.
So they're either going
They're
to
all not going to make it. Exactly.
right.
They're all not going
So
to make it
you're
on the other
either
side.
going to develop and become part of our first team, and that's going to
Right.
show progress through our academy and the talent
Yep.
that's there, or you're going to go through the academy, eventually be loaned out, and we're going to sell you for a sizable fee, which is going
Exactly.
to show the quality of our academy. Which, like clubs like Man City, you'll see more of that. Like they're not a lot of those guys aren't making it into the first team. They're going to get sold and go elsewhere, like a
Yep.
la a Romeo Lavia,
Like Lavia.
um,
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
or the kid they got now that's being that's now linked with the Premier League, Carlos Borges. Like
Right.
they're saying he's going to go for 15 million at least, and we're talking about a guy who has played no Premier League football whatsoever. He's been in their academy the entire time, and now he's going to go for 15 million somewhere else. And it's like, hey, that is great academy work right there. So, and we're in thinking about those guys for us, who would you see possibly being that guy that makes that step either into the first team or to be sold for a pretty good fee?
This year or next year?
I would say next year because I'll say next year because that's probably the most when we'll probably have the higher value. So I say next year.
I think next year I'm going to be shocked if I don't see Teo, Jez, Whitworth, or Goodman, Wells Morrison in the squad next year. I'll be shocked. To
Yeah,
me, those
I
four
would
have
too.
to be in the squad. They're probably the top four. I think Akinwale and Olabomi, Adabomi will probably go out on loan somewhere because they're still teenagers. Even next year, will be teenagers. But Wells Morrison is one of our best midfielders in our academy for sure.
You still
Woodworth
got
and Goodman.
Ozo. You got Ozo. You got Killian Phillips.
Add him. Killing Phillips is a little older. Ozo will be the other one.
Yeah,
Sorry,
because
add
Ozo's
Ozo.
only 18, right?
Ozo actually over Wells Morrison. He's actually probably because he already got that first team debut. They're the
He's
same
got
age.
he's
Actually,
got
Ozo might
Premier
be
League
a year
size
young.
too.
He got a premier exactly. So I'm sorry. See that's funny. See how funny it is. I totally forgot about Ozo. See, I'm so caught up in this manager situation and the whole Zaha. I forgot about Ozo, and I love David Ozo.
So much
Thank you,
talent,
T.
so much talent. We
No,
just forget
seriously.
about
But my
it.
point is, talent. Can we give them a chance? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Let's get him through. I mean, I know he's only 17, 18 years old, but that's a great point, man. Ozo should be by next season, man. Adam Roller, Ozo, Wells Morrison, or Goodman or we're happy. It should be our backup keeper by then. I'm guessing with a year of experience, on loan
Hmm.
somewhere. But yeah, why buy another keeper? Buy a let going to go back to Spain. Keep Johnstone. Whitworth's backup, and then Ray Matthews type, a veteran type as a third keeper. For me, is a perfect way to have it work
So
out.
to address these two. So Comaneci says the academy might as well not exist if Hashin is the manager.
That's
Fair
my
enough.
burner account. My
But
burner
see,
account.
but see, Alexander came back and said that's not true. Ty Mitchell is proof Hashin isn't completely stubborn.
Okay.
That is false, Alex.
Okay, right.
That is
So
false.
Alex,
Because
let's be honest. Wan Bissaka and Mitchell both got their debut because of injury.
because the guys in front of him were injured,
It's the only reason why.
not
Right.
because Hashin went down into the academy and said, "Hey, this
Right.
kid is good. He deserves to play."
Yeah.
No, he pulled a guy out of the academy because he had to.
Now I
So,
will say this though. I love the video, which is propaganda-ish by Palace when they put out the one about Franco Ume when he got the when in
Yeah.
training. Remember, and he stopped
Yep.
training and he made
Yep.
a thing.
He that was awesome. I love that from Roy.
I
I did.
loved it too. What I would have liked to see in the follow up, honestly, was not only a bench appearance by Frank Ume, but like a 10 minutes the last game of the season because why
Hmm.
not?
Hmm.
We were safe. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to see from that. That's the one thing that bothered me at the end of the season. He didn't give any of the academy kids
They didn't.
minutes,
None of them made the bench or anything. Yeah. Yeah.
which would have been to me. I don't care about Gyro's feelings, McCarthy's feelings, Tompkins' feelings. I don't care about the veterans at that point. Give the veterans, give the kids you want to build on some experience at the end of the season, and that's the only thing that bothered me. But the Ume thing was a great thing to do. You could tell he liked the kid. He was encouraging him. But listen, talking to him about that is one thing, but please give them minutes. Minutes of what gonna count. You need to get and let them play. So
Especially in a match like our last one where nothing was riding on it. Truthfully,
nothing,
I
nothing.
mean, and what you're saying, Patrick, is you're not even saying necessarily put him in, but it's like at least put him on the bench.
No, put him on the
At
bench.
least put him on the bench. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. But hey, we are going to wrap things up. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat that joined us today. It's been fantastic as usual. You guys are some of the best when it comes to your involvement, what you have to talk about. You guys come up with great points and everything. So we really appreciate all of you tuning in with us. For those of you that are joining for the first time, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Anybody, anything, anywhere. We appreciate it, man. It means a lot to us as far as the channel is concerned. We are coming out with content all the time for you all to be a part of. If you didn't see any of the Palace news from earlier this week, go on YouTube, check it out. Like, comment, and subscribe on those, man. We really appreciate everything. Shout out to my man Patrick for taking the time to join me today, man. Really do
Anytime.
appreciate you, man. But we'll see you all soon, probably for some more content coming up. But as always, until then, up the Palace.